Thanking the PNAs for the work that they have done on behalf of people with disabilities, and also for NDRN for working so closely with SAVE and other disability organizations out there that support people with disabilities. So now I want to talk a little bit about a question for you all. How many people in the audience have people with disabilities working in their PNA? That's great. We would like to see more hands go up in the future. One of the things I want to talk to you about is we talked about power, and I'm here to talk to you about people power. People with disabilities do have a voice. We are out there advocating just like you do all the time on behalf of our friends, our families, and other people with disabilities. Without us, you guys can't put up the best fight that you can put up. We are out there able to advocate for ourselves. People with disabilities do have a voice. Out there, when you were talking about the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, people with disabilities were out there speaking on behalf of making that happen, on behalf of our rights. Also, when you were talking about Olmsted, what happened there? 2 women were brave enough to stand up for their rights, to talk about being a part of their community, to be able to have other people with disabilities. Without all of us working together, what would that be like? Now, there's more and more things happening out there. You have a piece of legislation that's trying to people to have that go through, where you guys are getting your authority threatened. People with disabilities could help support you and advocate for that not to happen. We need to work together and find out more ways how we can work together as a team, because there's things that are out there that we can do that you can't do. For instance, we can do direct action. We can go out there and kick some ass. You might not be able to do that, but we can. For instance, you have numbers and things that we need, and power and information that we need to be able to advocate for those things. We can get those things from you, right?
Yes.
So by working together as a team and putting our power together, we can make a difference. Helping self-advocates find their voice is very important. Some of the PNAs out there have been able to accomplish that by having people with disabilities as a part of their organization throughout their whole organization. I don't mean just when you need us. I don't mean just a little tokenism. I mean throughout their whole organization, and really including people from the very beginning. Talking to us from the very beginning and working with us together. There are some people out there that go out there to conferences. We come to your conference. Where are you when we need you at our conference? We need those things happening. We need you to have that voice and to speaking to people with disabilities. A lot of times people with disabilities do not know what the protection advocacy even is. Sometimes they think of it as, oh, those are lawyers and we can't talk to them. Or, oh, do we have to go somewhere? If I want to speak on behalf of a person for protection advocacy, do I need to go out and buy a $90 suit to act and to be like that? There's a lot of times that people with disabilities don't even know who to contact, what to do, when my voting rights are being violated. Who do I call? I don't know who to call all the time. Yeah, you call Michelle. And this is another plug for that. We have a great relationship. Project Vote, our voting project, has been working with NDRN as a partnership and has gotten more things involved with people with disabilities to talk about how important voting is. Now more than ever, do we need that in this country? Hell yeah. Medicaid, Medicare, all the rallies, all the things that were out there, people with disabilities were out there speaking up on behalf of that. The more we work together, the more we learn about each other, the better it's going to be for everybody. Making it in plain, simple language so that people understand, so that they can advocate for those things, is really another issue. A lot of times things are not accessible for people with disabilities. They don't know how to read it, and then they say, oh, well, you must not care because you didn't advocate for it. Did you know that the last time we were talking about Medicaid, that it's called a different thing in many other states? And so when I went to Georgia, some of the self-advocates there, we said, oh, did you get involved in the Medicaid stuff? And did you hear about that, Medicare, Medicaid? They're like, no, nobody raised their hand. And then people said, well, they don't care about that. That's not true. Then we said, oh, did you get involved in Peach Care? Oh yeah, we went to that. Different words. Get to know the language where people need to know how to do that. And if you stand up there and say, we want you to advocate for something that's 50% of the time, that 40% of the people, the population, of blah, 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 and start adding all this jargon to that, people are going to look at you and say, what the hell is that? And they don't have a lot of support, folks, at home. So if they don't understand it, guess where it's going to land? In the garbage. If they don't understand it, it's not going to be dealt with, right? So we need to do a better job of making that happen. Also, we need to learn what each other does, because that's a big issue right there. When we went and we talked about Project Vote that I talked to you about, we did a section in Project Vote where it talks about how the PNAs and self-advocates can partner together. And we talked about, we had the PNA person who did the training with us when we used to go out and do training for people around voting. We had the PNA person introduce the self-advocacy group, and the self-advocacy group introduced the PNA, so that people got to learn about what each other does and how we can start to work together. Now, you've had in many different states what we call formally as the voice of the retarded, sorry people for saying the MR word, to now call it the voice of reason, which we call the voice of unreason, is out there attacking PNA's authority. And we need the help of everybody to not let that happen. If we want to continue together and making sure that we have the rights to go into those places and advocate on behalf of people with disabilities need to be able to do that alongside with you. Now, Kurt was in a speech one time, and he stood up there and he fought on behalf of people with disabilities about institutions. And not a lot of people stood up and defended him, because those people were in the audience and attacking him. And I said, this is crap. And I stood up and said, we cannot let this happen. People with disabilities want to live and be a part of their community. They need the supports to do that, and we need everybody working on this together. And I stood up for him. And there's been many times he stood up for SAVE and talked and worked with SAVE. But without us working together, we're not going to make a difference. And we need to make a difference, especially since there's people out there working on the other side to help destroy what we're doing, to help make things worse instead of better. We need to work with each other. We need to get together and talk with each other, not just in the middle of a crisis, but all the time. Find out what everybody is doing. What is your group working on? What is the self-advocacy organization working on? And how can we work together on things? How can we partner? By doing that and sending the message out there to everybody and showing role models and examples of how it could be done, because we know it could be done. We know by examples how if we fight together, it could be done and things could be won. We know if we fight together, it's going to be better. But separate, it divides us, and it takes away our power. It takes away everybody's power, which we don't want, and we don't need now, especially the way things are going. We need to be stirring together, working together, and advocating together. So I challenge you, on behalf of people with disabilities, that you call people, talk to people, work with people in your protection and advocacy organizations, and find out what the people want and how you can work together. Because by all of us working together, and I'm not just saying that it's your only duty to do that, but it's also self-advocates' duty to do the same thing. But we need to understand what each other does and how we can support each other better. Because by working together in the future, we're going to make a better place for everyone. Thank you.